Dear students, good morning. Welcome to DEEP, Daily Editorial Enrichment Program of Law Excellence IAS. Let us start the discussion on today's newspaper, that is 12th June 2019. I was unable to upload the videos because of my sickness for the past 2 days. I will cover the backlog within a day or two. The first article today is Squandering the Gender Dividend. So, in this, author says that it is a national tragedy that women unable to find work are dropping out of labor force. Let us see how she has come to such a conclusion. So she has took the basis of argument from periodic labor force survey which was conducted by NSSO. In this, she analyzed the situation from 2004 2005 to 2017-18. So, worker to population ratio, if you take this variable, so for the rural women from 2004 to 2005, it was 48.5%, and today it stands at 23.7%. There is a close to 50% drop of working women. And when we come to the urban women, it is 22.7% to 18.2%. So it is not a remarkable drop. So why the women participation rate in the labor force is decreasing so drastically over a decade? So the reasons can be two. One is women might be devolving their time to caregiving job at home. Probably the average wealth of the families might have gone up. That is a positive side explanation. And what is the other side explanation? The jobs which are accepting women are coming down. Our women are unable to find the suitable jobs for themselves. In this context, if the second is the true, then we are unable to use the gender dividend of the country for the economic prosperity. If every person's working capability is used to the maximum, the country can prosper. Here, let me put another point. In India, the women who have lost the jobs, these are mostly illiterate and working women who are mostly employed in the agriculture sector before, especially household forms before. So it means that the women belonging to lower socio-economic strata, lower educational groups have lost most of their jobs. That clearly shows that the first argument which I have put forward is wrong. So, in this case, the women losing the jobs is happening in the agricultural sector. One reason is agriculture as an economic activity is slowing down because of the distress and also the drought which is prevailing in most of the districts in India. And the second, that men participation rate in the labor force also has decreased in the rural areas, but they are able to find an alternative jobs like in the truck drivers, etc. So the mobility for the women with regard to jobs is very less in India. As the mobility is less, their dependency on the agriculture is high compared to the men. So that's the reason why the women are fast losing their jobs. So, how can we improve this? One is give the greater market connectivity. How can we provide for market connectivity through road infrastructure, internet or digital infrastructure? So, if you provide for the market connectivity, so women who are involved with different kinds of the jobs, they can sell their goods in the urban markets. Today, women are getting employed in ad hoc jobs, so knitwear, etc. So normally when we do a survey, we take the 30-day period and to understand their employment pattern. If the woman is not stably employed for 30 days in a particular job, it is expected to be stated that they are unemployed. Today, the temporary jobs are like this. For every 10 or 15 days, the women are changing the jobs. So, in this context, the existing standards of the survey will not be able to catch their employment. So, providing for the market access is the best way possible for the women to nurture their entrepreneurial skills and for the women to take up productive employment. This is what this article emphasizes on. The next article, truth, technology, and the teacher. So, teacher and technology, how they shall be related to each other. Teacher is has to play the central role in education. Technology has to be a facilitator. Now, let me give you the example of two institutions which I have experience with. One is Vajiram, the other one is ALS. I am not derogating any of the institute over here. Vajiram, it do not have much technology in its classroom. Chalkboard and that is board and marker and a small projector. Other than that, no technology. And on the other hand, ALS has used technology as lot. But however, it failed to take the attention of the student. So in this case, it clearly proves us one point. Technology is purely instrumental. So it has to augment the capabilities of the teacher. But a classroom shall not become a graveyard of technology. Rule number one. And the second thing is the marginalization of the teacher and using the technology to control the teacher rather than the free expression of the teacher ultimately leads to the degeneration of the education system as a whole. And today, in the information world, the students are having great access to the technology and also information. And much of the fake information is also being spread on the internet. So, in this context, teacher has a greater challenge to prove that his or her information is right. So, the teacher is facing multiple challenges in the technology world today. That is what the author talks about. So, technology is instrumental. It shall strengthen the teacher in the classroom. It shall not control the teacher. And teacher shall not become just a person to process the technology. He shall have a human connect with the students. So, in this context, let's take the example of Gyanvani. In the Gyanvani, whatever the mediocre teaching which was seen in the schools and colleges is spread through the every home through the distance education. In that context, the mistakes which are there with our education system are getting magnified through the technology. Unless we improve the quality of teaching through the teacher training and through various quality modules to the teachers, education system will not get reformed just bringing in some computers. That is what is the essence of this article. And the next is the importance of being neighbourly. So this is about the foreign affairs. You know that at the swearing in ceremony of the new cabinet ministers, council of ministers, the leaders of the BIMSTEC countries were invited. And immediately after that, external affairs minister visited Bhutan, Prime Minister Modi visited Maldives and Sri Lanka. And in the Bhutan, external affairs minister wants to check the mood of the country with regard to its cooperation with China. On the other hand, with the Maldives, India had a very rough phase in the past year. It is because the Abdullah Amin government has moved close to China. And now, again, Maldives has reiterated its India's first policy. And Prime Minister Modi visit to Maldives have promised them $800 million of line of credit. And this line of credit is going to be spent in the welfare programs that create huge impact on the people. It is clearly and remarkably different from China. Why? In China, wherever it is making investments, it is making on huge financial projects and infrastructure projects. This is actually pushing these small countries into debt trap. India is more seeing their concerns. Let's take Maldives, is more concerned about the climate change. So India is sympathizing with their concerns. That's why India can nurture the long-term relations over there. And coming to Sri Lanka, after Easter Sunday attacks, India's Prime Minister visit to Sri Lanka was reassuring to them. And the next is, with regard to BIMSTEC, we are inviting Maldives to be part of it, and it is expected to soon to act as a bridge between India and Southeast Asia. And on the other hand, the four important changes which are happening in India's neighborhood policy. The first is India is not going to be reciprocating the benefits to the neighboring countries. It is expected to be proactive and without looking for reciprocity, it is going to work on goodwill with the neighboring countries. So, it also aims to shun that big brother look or attitude towards the small countries. And second, rather than involving with infrastructure projects, unlike China, it wants to spend money on high impact generating welfareistic projects, which it is trying to do in Maldives. As India's capabilities as a financial engine to the world are limited, India is trying to take the help of Japan as and when required. So, if you take Project Mosam, in these cases also India is trying to take the help of Japan. So, trilateral development partnerships between our neighborhood country, India, and Japan is expected. And then from the SARC to BIMSTEC, it is clearly visible. BIMSTEC leaders were the guests at the BRICS summit held in Goa last year, and also BIMSTEC countries' heads are the leader invitees for the Prime Minister Modi's swearing in ceremony. So, these are the four fundamental shifts that are happening. Next article, saving childhood. So, elimination of the child labor is not just the responsibility of the state, it is responsibility of all of us. In this case, sustainable development goal clearly states that in the age group, it clearly states that all forms of the child labor need to be eliminated by 2025. So, in this case, this article emphasizes certain things. We need to create sufficient body of knowledge to understand the societal patterns related to child labor, which social groups where the child labor is more existing. Let's take among the OBCs, especially who are involved with this textile industry or local power looms. So these people are employing the children in manufacturing the cloth. So that industry can be targeted. Similarly, carpet making industry. So like that, where the child labor is high, intense, those areas need to be targeted. And the second is the private sector structure is changing. Rather than households and small medium enterprises, today we are having multinational companies entering into it. So in this context, private sector can set up new standards with regard to the child labor related practices. That is how this article talks about. And the next, a welcome verdict. This is about Kathua rape incident. An 8-year girl belonging to Bakriwala community, a nomadic tribal community, was kidnapped, raped, and killed by few people to threaten the community. So finally, it also has took the communal colors. Few ministers in the Jammu and Kashmir state government also have come in support of the perpetrators of the violence. In this context, the Supreme Court has shifted the case out of the Jammu and Kashmir, and the trial was held in Punjab. Finally, the judgment is out. So remember, whenever we have fair investigation and then fair trial and punishment to the culprits, the people's confidence on the justice delivery will increase. So, in these circumstances, the Indian justice system was able to stand to the trial and proven itself to be resilient. That's what that's what we can say. The next article, thin-skinned masters. Let me ask you a question. If you post something on social media, if the police come to your home and arrest you, then how will you react to it? That clearly shows insensitivity of the people or masters operating the state. So, one way the expression in social media can be seen from the perspective of freedom of speech and expression, and the second way it can be seen as violation of the rights of the others, or it may be seen as violation of the law because it may attract the defamation suit. Indian Information Technology Act, it was a very old law, failed to suit or failed to comply with the changing circumstances of technology field. So this IT Act is meant to curb or regulate the virtual world. But today, there are many developments happened with regard to social media. Information Technology Act is not suffice to cover them. And the second thing is, recently UP government arrested a journalist for posting some comments against the chief minister over there. And if the power wants to curb the people and the press, obviously that shows illiberal attitude of the state. So high-handedness, disproportionate use of force, and then police, law enforcement officials just nodding their heads to the political leadership. All these show growing authoritarian tendencies in the government. Management of the power is the biggest challenge for the people who are in power. Power corrupts absolutely. And the third thing is the social media is an unregulated space. Now, is it the time the government has to announce one or the other regulatory measures towards social media? That is the third thing which we have to understand. Finally, the misuse of social media, fake news, alternative facts has become very much in common. Creation of information asymmetry is much easier today compared to yesterday. So, it is the time we have to revisit regulation of the social media and amendment to the Information Technology Act, and at the same time, the power shall be managed well by our political leadership, and bureaucracy is expected to be impartial, shall not just be the nodding points for our yes minister kind of attitude, shall not be shown by the bureaucracy. Respect to rule of law is ultimately important. And finally, thank you very much. Have a great day. All the best.